Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Blind Press YouTube channel. And it's Saturday night, so we know what that means. It's time for Star Trek. And Skeptalk and the One Ton Hammer are here with me tonight. We're going to be talking about Voyager, Future's End from Season 3, Episodes 8 and 9. How are you two doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Sorry I was a little late.
It's all good. It's all good. Things happen.
I'm never late.
I was gonna make a polydub joke in chat. I didn't know how to word it right, so I just decided not to.
I hope Polly does come because, frankly, I enjoy listening to him and Hammer and you talk about stuff like Voyager because that's not one of the that's not the one series that I'm pretty strong on.
You need to become strong on that. You need to become strong on it. If I can help you become strong on it, let me know.
Stronger.
Good.
Okay. Well,
we will help you.
Memory Alpha and Netflix are getting me through there. I'm zipping through the episodes.
Well, we will help in any way we can.
Starting to understand that that Captain Janeway is a tennis player.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And she hit Tuvok in the. Oh.
They always seem to have to give this. They always seem to have to give the captains some kind of thing that they do.
Yeah.
You know, they have to give them kind of interesting
things.
Well, yeah, but I mean, his deal was he used to like to ride a horse. That was his thing. He was a horse person.
Yeah.
Something eventually became common with Kirk. But they always seem to give somebody like Cisco is into baseball and she's into tennis. It's always some kind of physical activity, outdoorsy kind of thing. I always wonder why the Star Trek writers find it important to do that.
I don't know.
I don't think it's just for backstory. They had to give them some kind of, thing. Because even the fact that Picard was a runner, because that was mentioned too, is that when he was taking his what would they call that? The obstacle course from Starfleet Academy.
Oh yeah.
He came running around the corner because he was a runner or something like that, and it was just like he passed all the upperclassmen or something, some line like that. It's just like, all right, everybody is physically fit. I get the point. Can we move around from the California centrist idea here? And some people don't do that like every day.
I don't know. It's an interesting thing to think about. But Future's End is a very interesting two-parter. It's a time travel two-parter. And I don't know about you, but most of the time travel stuff in Star Trek I enjoy. I like when they start fucking with time. Sometimes it's annoying, but for the most part, I really enjoy it. And this is no exception. It's much higher on the list of two-parters that I like on in Voyager. And basically, it starts to give a brief synopsis before we talk about it. It starts where we find out that Janeway likes tennis, as Skep and Hammer said, but we meet a captain from the 29th century who's piloting a time ship who claims that Voyager is involved in the destruction of Earth's solar system in the 29th century, and he's been sent back to destroy them, to keep that from happening.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they don't want to take that at face value, quite obviously, so they resist and end up being pulled back through a time rift into the 1990s Earth. And the episode, the two-parter that is involved involves them trying to get back to 24th century Earth, obviously, and stop the destruction of the 29th century and regain the time ship, which is a nice little subplot. It's been stolen by some nefarious tech guy who has been responsible for the computer revolution because he has stolen this technology. So, what did you guys think?
The Elon Musk character.
Yes, the Elon Musk character.
His name is what? Starling?
Henry Starling, yes.
Henry Starling, that's right. Henry Starling.
I have a kind of a trivia question before we get too far into the episode. The episode's name is Future's End, and this episode was in 96.
Yeah.
Also in 96 was Star Trek First Contact. And at the end of the movie, the Borg Queen turns to Picard and says, "Watch your future's end." Which one came first? The Voyager episode or that line from the movie? Because they're the same year.
They are.
I would say the line to the movie was probably written first, but as far as publicly performed, probably the show ran first. Just guessing from when those types of movies tend to come out late in the year.
There's a lot of writing that goes into a movie before production, even pre-production, is even begun. So that was probably, unless it was a last-minute script change, which happened.
Yeah,
you're probably right on that.
That's just a guess. That was just
because pre-production for the Star Trek movie started at the end of 95. So if it was written then yeah, more than likely the movie was first, to use the phrase.
So that would be my.
Anyway, that was my trivia question of the night. I was just curious if anybody knew.
Cult of Krill said Sarah Silverman was horrible in this show. I didn't hate Sarah Silverman in this show. I didn't love her for sure. I could have done with a different, like, I wouldn't have been sad if it wasn't Sarah Silverman that played Rain Robinson.
I think she acted as well as a non-actor / comedian could act.
Yeah.
But it was also a very poorly written role.
It was.
So she didn't have a lot to work with. And someone who is not a fine actor usually can't not overcome bad writing.
Oh yeah, they get imprisoned by it, really.
She's adorable. I mean, if that was me in that time period, I want to date her. She was kind of, naive and bubbly. And
Tuvok had to keep Tom in line.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's got the unibrow going. I don't know. It may just be me.
Did this remind you at all of the original series movie? Was it The Search for Spock, where they go back in time as well, and they're walking the streets of San Francisco?
That's the Voyage Home.
Voyage Home, right?
Voyage Home, right.
Where are the nuclear vessels?
Vessels. I think they're in Alameda. Yeah.
Alameda.
Alameda. Yes.
And which is so funny.
Uhura and fucking Chekhov looking for Alameda.
Alameda was where my ship, the Kansas City, was home ported. I mean, I lived in Alameda and Oakland, which is right next door, for 2 years. And I heard so many Filipino people say Alameda exactly the same way. It's so funny. And every Navy person who hears Chekhov say Alameda, they always say the same thing. It sounds like Filipino.
Well, here's two trivia things that you should know about that scene. The girl who walks by and says, "Oh, I don't know, I think it's in Alameda," and keeps going. That's not an actor.
Oh, really?
And that woman has a SAG card.
That's okay.
The police officer is not an actor. That's a real police officer. Where he's just looking at them and not answering. That's not an actor. That's a police officer, a real police officer.
That's funny. That's really funny, actually.
If you're gonna play a police officer, they would know how. It's playing
That's
the
funny.
type, right?
It's funny that if they were to write a police officer for that scene, that's what the police officer would do if they wrote him. And this guy did it without being written to do it.
Yeah.
It's glorious. I thought it was But I don't really think that even though that was kind of a notable line in the movie, I think more of the lines that came from Scotty were much better.
Yeah.
You know, Captain, there'll be whales here. I mean, there's certain things that he said, computer, that that stick out in my mind much more than
talking to the computer. Computer.
Anyway, we're getting off to the old series. Let's get back to Voyager.
Well, as long as hang on.
Double dumbass on you.
As long as
double dumbass on you.
As long as we're there, one of the things that occurred to me was another time that they went in. They weren't back in time, but they were on a planet where people were emulating the gangster.
Piece of the Action is the name of the episode.
Piece of the Action. That's right. That is. I was trying to think of the name of it from the original series, and I was thinking about the contract.
Mix, all those guys.
Yeah. Where Spock has some absolutely hilarious lines in that, and I was thinking about how they played that
Fizbin
for comedy much more than
they did
than straight drama.
Yeah.
That they played it in Voyager.
Anyway. The look on Spock's face when Kirk says, "What are the odds of that happening?" And Spock says, "I don't," and he says, "Don't worry, I don't think it really matters." Any. The look on Spock's face during that whole thing is kind of like, oh, it's glorious. We're getting off on the original series.
We are.
No. Okay.
Anyway,
enough. All right, getting back.
Okay, so
I didn't get the emote on Silverman.
Yes, Skep, what did you think about Silverman?
I think I liked her better than you guys. I thought she did okay. I didn't think that her performance was that amateurish. I did think the role was very, very poorly written.
Yeah.
She did a couple of things that they may have been coaching her to do, but just little gestures, little movements that I kind of went, I'm buying this, and it was much more than I thought I would, especially since as a human being, she repels me, but I looked past that and thought, she actually did a fairly decent job in a poorly written role. So that's my take on that.
So what did you think of the episode as a whole, Skep?
I found it enormously entertaining.
Did you like it better than Basics? Did you like it better than Basics?
Well, that's not hard.
That's extremely low bar. But I mean, what I found myself doing was laughing at it, probably inappropriately. There was stuff that probably wasn't supposed to be funny that I found funny, and for that reason, I was entertained. As far as one of those good Star Trek episodes that inspires you and makes you feel hopeful for humanity, or happy or fuzzy inside, or it wasn't a tremendously meaningful 2-episode thing. And I also felt like that, left to my own devices, I would not have watched that on purpose by myself.
No.
How about you, Hammer?
The problem with a lot of these episodes is I believe that they were written as a single episode.
And they stretched them.
And they stretched them. And this seems really obviously stretched to me. This could have easily been a single episode. As a matter of fact, I'd be concerned that they probably should have written stuff to fill it out more for a single episode.
You think so?
I was Henry Starling was going to get food poisoning from chewing the scenery. That guy had a lot of empty screen time.
Yeah.
I'll give you guys that. He did a lot of nothing on screen.
There's a lot of people walking around out in the middle of California just strolling and talking.
Yeah. Oh, the long scenes on Venice Beach, and then walking up to Griffith Observatory.
There's a lot of stuff, a lot of dialogue they could have cut out that really didn't go to the meat of the issue. This could have been a lot more action and a lot less dialogue.
I do like the second half of the 2-parter better.
Yeah, because it's closer to the end. Me too.
Because it's almost over.
No, I like the action more. I like the interaction with Chakotay and the fucking and the militia, where he's trying to reason with them, and they're calling him like Red Man, but they're also calling him the government. Like they're insulting him. They're insulting him because he's native, and they're insulting him because he's dressed like he's from the government. And he's just like all soft spoken, and I was a freedom fighter too. Like I love how he still calls himself a freedom fighter. I'm sorry.
He's still
I'm
a
sorry.
Maquis,
The
right?
Maquis are fucking terrorists. I'm sorry. If this is a tangent. I'm sorry. It's my turn. I'm gonna tangent to DS9 for a second.
Okay.
You cannot watch any of the episodes with Eddington and come away not saying the Maquis are terrorists.
Well,
they're certainly thugs.
You could say that Eddington was a terrorist.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you that.
But
sometimes I find myself wondering how the Maquis civilization survives. They don't seem to be good at anything.
They don't survive. They get wiped out.
Exactly. I mean, how they ever happened.
A bunch of farmers kind of deal, trying to take over and using Federation supplies to try to get a foothold. I can understand. Yeah. I can understand, but it doesn't really make much sense to me, the whole idea of the Maquis. I think that, putting myself into the Star Trek world and assuming that it was a real thing and it could exist, that if you're finding out that your planet is going to be annexed to the Cardassians, why do you stay there? I don't get it.
There are a lot of times in Star Trek when the planets are at stake and the inhabitants are like, we don't care. And you're like, why? You're going to die.
Yeah, that's the one with the Indians, right? The American Indians who settled on a planet and they were there for 60 years or something like that. And Wesley turns to the time traveler and goes into a habak and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. That's another one where we're not going to move here. You're staying in blood and blah, 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 blah. But I'd be like, oh, Cardassians coming? Well, I got to go. Yeah. For any other planets, maybe I'll spend some time on Risa. It doesn't even occur to me to fight for... It's a house on a planet. How many planets can we choose from? Oh, 7 billion. Well, I don't need this one.
Yeah. How many of those are non-Cardassian? 7 billion.
Jeez. There are even some in Voyager that are like that, and you're just like, why?
I don't get it.
Yeah.
But So
motivation is obscure.
This is also the episode where the Doctor gets his mobile emitter. And what do you guys think about the introduction to that piece of technology as a whole?
Plot device?
Yeah,
as a plot device. What do you think about it?
You got to get the Doctor out of sickbay so he can go be interesting in other places.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good move. That's the reason for it. Whether or not it was done in an interesting way. It was done kind of as a throwaway type thing. Oh, by the way, here's this thing. And, it's hugely life-changing or hologram changing for the Doctor. And changes up the plot possibilities, obviously, where he can, be someplace other than sickbay. And also, there's the potential for, if you nail that thing, he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so, there's some
risk.
possibility. Yeah, risk. Element of risk is added in. So I thought it was an interesting and a good thing. I don't know that I think I would have had it be more of a centerpiece, more dramatic, something or other. It would have been something that commanded more of the audience's attention than just this third way. Oh, by the way, they, look what I've got now.
Yeah, and it seemed like it was more of a way to boost Henry Starling's ego. if you know what I mean, because there's a scene where he's like, "Aren't you going to thank me, Doc? I've taken you out of your prison. I've looked at your files. I've seen that you can't leave sick bay. Like, shouldn't you be thanking me right now? Like, it's just like, really, dude, that's
gratitude is not part of my programming.
Yeah.
Well, they had to find a way of making him move around the ship, but also they had to make a way of him leaving the ship.
Mm-hmm.
If they would have just installed hollow emitters around the ship, which they find other ships that have done and further down the road, that would have been enough. And they could have done it. They even tried doing it, and they shrunk him down to 3 inches tall or whatever. The point is, that could have been done, but that would not have been enough for the show. They had to do something where he could leave the planet. So this was their only plot device to do that. Give him a piece of technology that will allow him to have full movement.
Yeah. What did you think of Doc in this episode? I think he had some great lines in this episode. I really liked. I beg you.
He's such a good actor that he can take even an average line and really make it I mean, all of the snide remarks that he makes as part of being a doctor about how he talks about how great of a job he did on the prosthetic eye for 7 of 9 and I just saved your life kind of comments. And I think just about any actor on the planet is going to do a mediocre job. He does an outstanding job of really playing up of being an annoying piece of shit. It really does. I mean, not in the bad way, like an evil villain kind of way, but
just
in that annoying, egotistical. Exactly. I don't even know the actor's name.
Robert Picardo.
Yeah, Robert Picardo, right. But there's something about that actor. I don't think anyone else could have played that role.
No, I agree.
And done as well.
I agree. He like my favorite line of his in the entire 2-parter is at the house where they go and rescue Chakotay and Torres, and he's getting shot at with bullets, and he just keeps coming, and the guy's like, Lord heaven, heaven or mercy, Lord have mercy, or something like that, heaven help us, or something like that. And Doc's like, divine intervention is unlikely, and just shoots him with a phaser, stuns him, and just comes trotting down the stairs. Just like, hello, Chakotay and Torres.
Divine intervention is unlikely.
I never really understood that when it comes to the Doctor, why he seems to jump underneath tables in most episodes when he's being shot at. Unless they hit the emitter, or if he doesn't have the emitter, if he's in sickbay and they're shooting around, he should just be laughing at people.
I think that I agree. I think they should have kept that cavalier attitude.
Oh, he should have been shot and looked down at where he got shot in the chest, how it went through him, and then looking, oh, that tickles. Yeah. And then kept right on going. I mean, the fact that I don't know, I think that was a mistake for the character to make him play kind of a coward in that respect.
I agree.
They were trying to slap on as many personality characteristics as they could to make him interesting, I think.
But they didn't have to try because
they got like the greatest actor on earth. Can anybody think of any other actor who could play that role as well?
Nope.
Can you hammer?
Specifically that role? No. Yeah. But Andy Dick did a pretty good job as the other EMA.
He did.
He was pretty annoying too. It wasn't quite as comical, but he did. I really think, for much as everybody hates Andy Dick and all that, I think he did a really good job playing.
I think it was comical because he played off of Robert Picardo.
Yeah.
And Robert Picardo in that particular episode, because he's been dealing with like he still doesn't quite know what to do, but between the two of them, he's got like way more, I guess, life experience. Yeah. Program experience. I don't know what you would call it. And it's hilarious, the back and forth between them, because Andy Dick is like a hologram, playing a hologram that's, showing some signs of neuroses and
Yeah.
severe anxiety. And like, I think there's even one part where the hologram acts like he's gonna throw up or something like that because he's so nervous. And then he just goes and shuts himself down.
Yeah. Even more of a coward than the Doctor was. What I don't understand is, how is Andy Dick a later version of Rob Picardo?
I don't know.
He seems like an earlier version where he's neurotic and even more coward. It just seems like the roles are reversed in time. Andy Dick should have been the prototype, you know, and Picardo should have been the guy that they went with at the end. So anyway,
have some opinions in chat. I thought I might call out. Gulf City Cult of Krill said Sarah Silverman was horrible in this show. And Jesse Fennec Fox said, I love that one. Krill, she is horrible in all things. Oh, okay. That's Jesse agreeing with Krill. And Hawk Silk says, when is she not horrible? And then we get into, did she marry Jimmy Kimmel kind of commentary, and whether or not Russians can pronounce V's or not. And can't see anything else that is to mostly saying good evening. But good evening, chat. Nice to have you along.
I will say that I know that girl. The girl that Sarah Silverman plays.
Oh.
That kind of ditzy but smart
type of girl.
But I know that kind of girl in real life. I've met that girl.
You meet them in the computer business. You meet them all the time. Yeah, absolutely. I've known several who would fit that bill. I see what you're saying. Yes, absolutely. Silicon Valley is chock full of them. It's Alameda has been such a part of my life. I was home ported there, and then I get a job. I get the offer of a lifetime from a Silicon Valley company that is headquartered in Alameda. It's like a mile and a half from where my ship tied up. It was like coming home again after, 15 years. And I worked at that company for, 12 years. So anyway, it's just kind of an amazing coincidence. And now here we are talking about Alameda. It's like I can never escape Alameda. So I just had to get that Alameda coincidence out there.
So what did you think? What did you think about the time travel paradox that they found themselves in?
How do you handle something that is fundamentally not handleable? If anytime you say that you can go back and influence past events that directly or indirectly influence future events, you have a paradox. And so, and the way that you have to treat it is that you either influence it in a beneficial way or in a way that does not materially change the future. And there is probably some solution set of actions you can take that don't make a big difference downstream. Discretionary actions can go this way or that way. The wind, the gust of wind on the butterfly doesn't change anything. Doesn't lead to the rise of a dictator who destroys society or destroys the planet. And then there are another set of actions that change it in a material way, and a subset of those are absolutely destructive. And so you have to play it so that whatever they do is miraculously exactly what the plot calls for. And in terms of that, I thought it was a little bit pat. It felt a little bit. It was an interesting idea. I thought they could have done more with. Let me put it that way. What do you think, Hammer?
I'm not a big fan of time travel movies to begin with. Even movies that I've watched and I've enjoyed, I just don't like time travel movies because they lean too. They what's the word I'm looking for? They put you in a position of exposing things that you never know that you exposed until whatever situation you're in is over, and then you find out if you're screwed or not. I don't like that. Movies like The Butterfly Effect or The Sound of Thunder, they all kind of follow that same theme where
Yep.
You know, the simplest little thing happens that you never notice, and that's the whole idea of a butterfly flaps its wings kind of stuff. Is that, you know, I saw it when they did First Contact, and they went back, and the Enterprise was safe from the effects, and they got to see the Earth as a Borg planet. And at the end of the show, I don't know if you've gotten the same thing as I gotten, but they said, "Oh, well, it's time to go. Let's go ahead and recreate the vortex and head out. Okay, let's go. Bye." What I wanted to know is when they got back, was everything right or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when it comes to that kind of thing, this is also kind of the whole Marty McFly thing with Back to the Future, another time traveling premise where one little mistake here or there, and when you go back, it's a disaster. I just don't like the idea of that. I don't think that it's that malleable. I think you'd have to do a lot to really. You have to do something significant to really change anything. That time is going to flow pretty much in a line, unless you get out a hammer and start hitting people. Not having to do with my name, but the point being is that you'd have to actually do something dramatic for life to change in any way. So when these guys put you in a position of like, oh yeah, I mean, if you blink twice instead of once, everything will be destroyed. No, I don't believe it.
I liked Janeway's line of, since the day I became a captain, I always hoped I would never run into one of these godforsaken paradoxes. She's like, because if you look at Kirk and Picard, they were always like, we've traveled through time. Let's gather information. Right?
That we can take back to ruin our timeline.
Yeah, but they were always like, let's gather, like they were always the ever the explorer, right? Mm-hmm. And Janeway is just like, fuck time travel. I hate time travel. I hated temporal mechanics at Starfleet Academy, and I hate time travel, and I hate the fact that I have to deal with it as a captain. And I kind of like that.
She seems to be the one who ends up experiencing it the most, really.
I know. I think that's kind of why I like that attitude, because like she's one of those ones that hates time travel, but she always gets stuck with time travel.
Well, compare the time travel scenarios that you encounter, like in this episode, with a classic time travel film like H.G. Wells' The Time Machine. In The Time Machine, the worlds that you encounter are so profoundly different and removed from the current year that it seems like there's nothing you could do to influence it either way. I mean, when H.G. Wells goes into, when he sees the Morlock and the Eloi, the human race has evolved, has gone through evolutionary changes.
Yeah.
And he got the number of years wrong in doing that. It couldn't have done what they did in whatever it was, 10,000 years, would have been millions of years, or 500,000 years. But he, that was a completely different approach. And I happen to love that movie. I love H.G. Wells' The Time Machine, and like very much like Hammer, I can't think of any other time travel movie, and I'm going to exempt Back to the Future because they used time travel just as a device. It wasn't really a time travel movie as much as it was a movie that used time travel kind of as a plot fulcrum, and it wasn't specifically about time travel. If that makes any sense at all.
Mm-hmm.
Or am I just dribbling on?
No, keep going.
Just tell me.
I'm with you.
And I'll do that. So, and I think I'm very much like Janeway. I don't like time travel either. I don't want these godforsaken paradoxes. You can't figure them out. You don't know how they're going to work out. I like engineering problems that are solvable.
Yeah.
I'd like to be able to be presented with something, here's our objective, here's what we're going to do. And I think Janeway is very much that type of a captain.
Yeah.
In some ways, Janeway is more like a ship's captain, what I think of as a ship's captain, what my as like a U.S. Navy ship's captain. She's more like that than Picard is.
Mm-hmm. She's more hands-on.
Yeah. Yes.
She's down in engineering.
Absolutely.
With Torres, helping Torres. And there's even a scene in Next Generation when Geordi is doing something in engineering and Picard he's only got a basic understanding of engineering comparatively, and Geordi has to be like, Captain, just let me do this.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
get away from the complicated machinery, Captain.
Yeah, but Torres, there are times where Torres will be working in engineering, Captain Janeway will come in, and Torres will be like, Captain, thank God you're here. I need your help.
Yeah. And a captain of a ship has probably been an engineering officer on a ship.
Yeah.
He's been head of the deck division. He's been head of the weapons and operations. He's done all those things. He knows how to run those departments himself. He knows how to get his hands dirty in every bit of that. To me, Janeway is much more authentic that way.
Who would you want to have really as your captain? Would you want to have a second engineer on the bridge, or would you want?
Having been at sea when you needed all the expertise you can get, give me Janeway any day of the
really. I would have definitely picked. I definitely would have picked the tactician of him versus the engineering skills of her.
Well, I don't think she's not a tactician. I don't think she's not a tactician at all. Oh, if I thought she was not a tactician, if I thought she was incompetent, I wouldn't say.
All right. Well, you're smearing a lot of things around here by making that statement.
She's a good tactician too, I think. She's no Picard maneuver.
Right.
But she's a tactician. She's definitely a tactician. Do you think Chakotay came up with that scorpion move by himself?
I think they came up with it.
Yeah.
But when Picard went to Worf and said, okay, we're going to be crossing the neutral zone, I want you to bring 3 cloaked ships along from the Klingon Empire.
Yeah. Or when Picard was trying to figure out...
Picard is a lot of talent in one place, isn't he?
He is. He's a diplomat and a tactician. He's a thinker.
That's his thing.
That's his thing.
And Kirk was the cowboy.
Yeah. Yes.
They all have their things. I think I would want to have the guy on my bridge.
Kirk is like? Excuse me, I just have to interrupt you. You know what Kirk is like? He's like the captain of an attack submarine. That's what those guys are like.
Tupolev.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get the motherfucker. Exactly. That's who he is.
It's all ego, bravado, testosterone with him.
It's whip them out and measure them.
Yep.
I mean, it's that's what it is, raw testosterone.
Yep. Do you think, this is an interesting tangent, do you think that they had captains that were kind of emulating different types of captains that you would see for the different types of ships?
That's interesting. What a great question, though.
Because
I have a different theory, and I think it parallels some of that. Here's what they did. They did Kirk the cowboy at first because they thought they were writing basically a Western. They're doing Paladin in space. Then they wanted the man for all seasons, the man who can do everything, the thinker, tactician, but not necessarily the engineer guy, not necessarily the experienced department head of every department guy, and that was Picard. Then I think they said, what is a captain really like? And that's how you got Janeway.
So we skipped Sisko?
No, Sisko, Cisco is an interesting anomaly because Cisco,
yes, it's a composite personality to me.
He's a little bit of everything, but he's not really much more. He's a little bit more hands off, kind of like Picard. And then when it comes to the technical stuff, he'd be lost without O'Brien. Let's face it.
And plus he's damaged goods. He is psychologically damaged.
Well, I think all of those captains that we mentioned are a little bit. Well, they wouldn't be psychologically damaged, or else they wouldn't be in Starfleet. Like, you know what I mean? But
yeah,
But
Cisco, to a greater extent than the other ones, seems like damaged goods
more
to
damaged,
me because of his trauma, his family trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still think I have to disagree. If I have a competent engineer, I don't need a second competent engineer. You really think that it would be a good idea to have Picard know everything as much as Geordi does? Geordi's a fucking whiz kid, man. He knows everything. True. He knows every fucking inch of that engine, and he says so in multiple episodes.
Yeah.
These are my babies. I've called around every inch. How many episodes has he said stuff like that?
A lot, yeah.
So the reason we have Janeway being the engineer or the assistant engineer or whatever is because B'Elanna really isn't a great engineer. I always thought that the male guy would have been the better engineer.
Oh, Carey?
Yeah.
Joe Carey?
Yeah. Born and bred in Starfleet. You know, she quit. She didn't get all of her education. Yeah. She's been a Maquis person. She can throw things together and make it work, but he was the Geordi.
Yeah.
He was the guy who knew every fucking inch. So I don't know. We're getting off again on other tangents here, but
welcome to the tangent stream.
It's we seem to do that, but I still think that if I had my choice between Picard and Janeway, although she's a strong leader, I'd rather have the guy who's got something in his back pocket that nobody knows about.
Do you think Picard would have done okay in the Delta Quadrant, or do you think that Janeway was the right fit?
I think he would have done better, but not just because of him, but because of the ship that he had. Sure. A Galaxy class ship in the Delta Quadrant wouldn't have half the problems that ship had.
Yeah, true. You could have separated into the saucer and star drive and fucking fucked up the Mistrum in a heartbeat.
Yep. Yep. Granted that Voyager's a fast ship, the fastest ship.
Yes. It could outclass Enterprise.
But if you're just talking about, if you're just talking about raw power and maneuverability and, you know, the facilities that ship had, I mean,
it's Voyager, like the difference between a destroyer and a aircraft carrier.
Voyager's
a sports car, you know,
it would really
Galaxy class are tanks, you know.
It would really suck to try and find resources for a Galaxy class starship out in some of those.
But I mean, you bank on the benefits of the ship. How many runabouts are sitting inside the shuttle bay?
That's true. You've got a lot of things.
Do you even need a Delta flyer? No. You know,
you can't not have a Delta flyer.
Anybody forget about the captain's yacht? Voyager doesn't even have one.
That's true.
I mean, you got to think about all the things.
Well, Voyager was only supposed to be on a month-long mission.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't need a captain's yacht at that point.
Voyager, like the Defiant, was built with the Borg in mind.
Yes.
So Galaxy class starships weren't. They were before the Borg. So
anyway.
I have more fun talking about this stuff than I do about specific episodes, to be honest with you.
I know but I like talking about what's it called? What's Cult of Krill saying here?
What?
Cult of Krill says the Enterprise would have been worse than the Voyager. Many more mouths to feed.
Yeah, but many more mouths capable of gathering food.
True.
So you got to look at, like I said, you got to look at all of the things. It's easy to take one point, but the resources you have to command gather you more resources for the people that need it. So, you know, yeah, it would have been harder for the Galaxy class ship, but you don't have one alien guy cooking all the food either.
no Leola root stew on the Enterprise's mission to the Delta Quadrant.
No, absolutely not.
All right. Well, that's a plus.
The cook, who is also the morale officer.
Yes.
Which is
So
strange to me.
So, what did you think about the interaction we had with Tuvok, Tom, and Sarah Silverman?
I mean, what's that thing in your pants?
If Tuvok wasn't there, there'd be some fucking going on. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There would be some time traveling babies made for sure.
Yeah.
There. The time machine and a broken prophylactic. Yeah, that would be a thing that would be happening.
With the you know, I don't know if I probably should say this, but with the exception of her brain, I love everything about Sarah Silverman. It's just her brain that I don't like.
Okay.
Probably shouldn't say that.
Well, I would say, except for her brain, her personality, and her appearance.
Personality comes from your brain.
Okay, but her brain and her appearance. Other than that, I
love her appearance. I think she's.
Her voice bothers me.
Yeah, and her voice bothers me too. But other than that, she's fine.
That's a big thing with me is voices.
Isn't she Jewish? Isn't Sarah Silverman Jewish?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, with a name like Silverman.
Culturally. I don't think she's a practicing Jewess. But yeah, she's culturally Jewish.
Yeah, I mean, it seems weird
There's
to have.
Something weird about that. I read about her one time. Wait a minute. Let me look upstairs.
So
something weird about the three of them being together. Yeah. It seemed like two hotties going after each other with a chaperone. It made him seem even more dour of a character than he normally is anyway.
True. And it's because it's so the juxtaposition, like that scene where he comes over with the food and she's like, Agent Tuvok, what's up? And he's just like, breakfast is up. It's like, damn, dude. Even Spock knew when to crack a joke. Holy fuck.
This goes back to the last time we talked about Vulcans when it comes to Star Trek. The only Vulcan that was ever an enjoyable Vulcan was Spock. All the other Vulcans sucked.
I see, out of all the other Vulcans, though, Tuvok is my favorite. Like, if you have to have a list, because T'Pol just pisses me off.
Nah, for me, it's always going to be Spock. For much as I'm a big fan of.
No, I'm just if you don't count Spock.
Oh, with him aside, nah. See, she's just as dour as he is, but at least she's sexy and dour. He's not even that. So, Julian Blaylock, she's quite the hottie, and if nothing else, eye candy. I don't think she played the role bad, but I think they wrote the role like they did for Tuvok. I think they wrote the role for him just to be the killjoy.
Mm.
What do you think, Skip?
I don't. Do you know much about Tuvok yet, Skip?
Yeah, Tuvok. I don't know that he was the killjoy as much as he was just. Well, yeah, I guess he was. He was kind of a fun governor, because, like you say, if Tuvok hadn't been there, they would have been on it like a couple of minks.
Yeah.
I mean, they would have done it right there.
Tom would have been like, "Yeah, fuck the timeline. I don't care. Yeah. I'm going in.
Penis is in charge. Here we go." And she was just like all the come hither.
Yeah.
I'm going to be around. I could call you.
I love Saturn.
Yeah, I love Saturn. Exactly. And Tuvok is like, let's not be leaving any genetic material behind. Kind of commentary, warning him to not get involved with this.
Keep it in your pants, buddy.
Yeah, basically.
They are bonding on a cross-cultural level.
And that said, I like Tuvok, and I like the guy who plays him, and I like the way he plays them. I know, Hammer, you're not a fan. but I just
I don't mind
enjoy the
Tim Russ, though.
stentorian tones of his voice, and it's such a difference from Spock, who, you know, I know this is heresy, but I think Spock broke character so much it detracted from his, or broke you know, the Vulcan discipline of logic first, foremost, and always. He broke it so often it wasn't interesting when he did it anymore. That was the problem.
He was part human. See, all the other Vulcans are pure Vulcans. He was the only one who was half human. So
I know, but the human part's not the interesting part. The interesting part is the Vulcan part.
No, I disagree. The interesting part is the conflict between
you like the conflict back and forth, and
you
know, I blew that off completely. I said, no, humans, I know how they work. Fuck that. You know, I want to see a Vulcan. You know, I want to see spacemen, and so that's just a, you know, do you like chocolate? Do you like vanilla? It's not a big deal. But I don't know where I was going with that.
I enjoyed Tim Russ. I think he was.
I did too.
I liked Tuvok.
I liked him as a bad guy on Enterprise.
I liked him as he was good at being a bad guy sidekick in that episode on in TNG. Where Picard pretends to be the barber because he gets stuck on the ship.
That's why I said a bad guy on the Enterprise.
Oh, I thought you meant on Enterprise, like the show.
No, not the Enterprise, the actual ship.
Yeah, no, he was good. He
played a good bad guy.
He did. Well, and he played a good, like, when Tuvok in the episode The Meld, when Tuvok loses his control, Tim Russ did a really good job of that.
Oh, well, playing a non-Vulcan who's Vulcan?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a question for you both. Who would you say was the star of these two episodes? The single star, the protagonist.
That's a tough question.
I guess, what was the name of the guy in the time ship again?
The captain of the time ship, or the guy who stole it?
The guy who...
Braxton.
Braxton. Yeah, I guess he would be the bad guy? Kinda?
No, I wouldn't even call him a major player. I mean, he has an important part, but he doesn't spend a lot of time.
This all starts with him.
I almost want to say,
you know, he's a device. He's a device. He's not. To me, the star of this whole thing was Henry Starling. This was the story of a bad guy.
Yeah.
I don't like the actor though. That's the only thing that puts me off is that I don't think the actor played the evil that this guy should have been.
I'm not talking about whether or not he did a good job. I'm talking about who was the star? Who was the one that this episode was about? Who was the protagonist of this episode? I would say
the protagonist or the antagonist.
You think antagonist because he's a bad guy, but he's a protagonist because he's the story about it. You can have an antagonist who's a good guy playing against a bad guy.
True.
So just because he's a bad guy doesn't mean he can't be a protagonist. So to me, Starling was the protagonist. And as much as anything else, I think Sarah Silverman was the antagonist.
Maybe that's why I didn't really enjoy the episode, is because nothing stood out to me. The bad guy wasn't bad enough. The good guys weren't good enough. The story wasn't interesting enough. It just seemed very vanilla, the entire thing.
I definitely agree with you there. Like I said, it was not moving. No inspiration, no movie.
Yeah, it's definitely not your top of the line time travel episode or two-parter episode. I definitely, for me, it's definitely an enjoyable episode, but it's one of those episodes that you can watch as background noise.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's entertaining and it can catch your attention for a few minutes, and you still know what's going on.
Yes.
Right. But
have you ever spent, and Hammer, have you ever spent any time on Los Angeles beachfront in the 80s?
No.
I spent a lot of time there, and that's what it's like. They caught that so amazingly well. Now you would expect that, they shot all that stuff out in Los Angeles. It's pretty easy, to get all the props in the scene and so forth. But it was that was a great recreation of 1980s Venice Beach. In just south of Los Angeles, or I guess just west of Los Angeles, really. It's the Santa Monica to Venice boardwalk. Anyway, I thought it was pretty wonderful. Just wanted to make that statement.
Very interesting.
The production value in Voyager is much higher to me than like DS9 or even TNG. And certainly infinitely higher than the original series. I mean, that costs money to go out and shoot on location like that.
Yes.
They put some money into that. And it wasn't stock footage. The actors were there. They were there on the beach. They were shooting that stuff.
Yeah.
When that guy came skateboarding down the banister behind him, that was real. That really happened.
Yeah.
It's not green screened or anything.
That's really cool. That Star Trek did that.
I can always be dependent upon to kill the conversation with my observations, my historical observations. By the way, Sarah Silverman is. I was trying to remember the interesting thing about her. She is Jewish. She's not religious, but she's culturally Jewish. Her sister is a famous rabbi. Susan Silverman. Very liberal. Oh, she makes Sarah look like William F. Buckley.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Susan, I've read some of her political stuff, and I was thinking that was the same one. I had to look it up and check, and that is Susan Silverman. That's her sister.
Very interesting.
That's her sister. So yeah, lady has written for Salon and many other liberal, New Yorker, many other liberal publications. Anyway,
so
again,
what do we think? Overall thoughts, because it's 11:04, and I know Minions is going to be on at 11:30.
Yeah.
So
we're going to be rallying together here in a few minutes.
In the final minutes, what are our final thoughts on this episode?
I know Hammer likes to go last, so I'll give you my brief thoughts. As usual, I like Tuvok. I don't like Sarah Silverman much, but I thought she did a good job with a poorly written part. The writing overall, I can give it about a C. Can't even give it a C+. My enjoyment of the episode, just because it was amusing in spots and kind of interesting in spots, and plus the Doctor had a lot of screen time, which I love, I give it a B-. I like the beat. It's very danceable. Okay. Go Hammer.
I would say starting at the bottom, basics would be first, and this would be second. As far as working from the bottom up, I think it was in the Voyager line, the next to the last, as far as quality episodes. I thought, as I mentioned at the beginning, this could easily have been our first. It's just a single episode thing. So that really puts it at the bottom of the bin for me. There are other ones I'm looking forward to much more than
like the next one.
What's next? Scorpion?
Scorpion.
Oh man,
Scorpion.
Yeah. Stay tuned for that one. I got a lot to say about Scorpion.
Yeah, I would definitely say that this episode is definitely far from my favorite. But as I said, it's definitely much more enjoyable than Basics. But again, I even find Unimatrix Zero a little bit more interesting than Basics. And that's saying something because I hated that episode. Anyway, that's a different stream.
When are we gonna do Scorpion?
Next Saturday?
Next Saturday, yeah.
Okay.
If you guys aren't busy with family.
Yeah.
I am not busy with family for the Christmas holidays. That's only one day for me.
Okay.
Same.
So
same exact.
And then Saturday would be like the 29th, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be a Saturday for me.
Yeah. Yeah. The only day I'm gonna actually be busy is gonna be Monday. That's the only day. This Monday, next Monday, both Mondays I'm gonna be busy otherwise. Because this Monday I have to go to the doctor for my feet because they're worse than yours. And then
I might surprise you tonight. But anyway,
next Monday is my birthday.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah.
Don't miss Monkey Stream.
I was gonna say, are you gonna ask Monkey to screech at you?
Is it Monday? Wait, let me look at the thing again. Yeah,
What?
the 31st is Monday.
Yeah.
Next Monday.
The 31st is your birthday?
Yeah, December 31st.
Very cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. Well, it's not so cool. I get too many Christmas presents. Oh, it's your birthday and the 31st
Yeah,
over
I'll
here.
just give you one present
yeah.
for both.
Oh man, I hate that. But I can say that the entire world celebrates my birthday.
That is pretty cool.
That's pretty wonderful.
Yeah, fireworks and everything. It's awesome.
How old will you be?
I will be 56.
So you'll be, once again, only 10 years
Yep.
younger than me.
Yep. We become 10 years at certain points.
Yes, exactly. 10 to 11 years apart. And it's actually only out of, since my birthday is October 5th, it's only 26 plus 30, 56, 67 days.
Uh-huh. Where there's a 10-year overlap.
Right.
Well, guys, I guess we will end it here and let you guys get ready for the Minions. And if anyone in chat wants to go and watch the Minions of the Zoo, you should, because it's a fun group of people.
You should also watch Blind Press at 10 a.m. Okay, Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, every morning, Monday through Friday, with that guy. And we have a pretty good time.
We do.
The Covfefe stream?
The Covfefe stream, yes.
The Covfefe stream. We should sell it that way. We really should. We have like 100,000 viewers for the first stream.
Oh boy, would that go over?
What the hell is this?
That's a great idea, actually. Give us some thought. Anyway, no, thank you, chat, for coming up.
Yes, thanks everyone
for putting up with me.
Well, no worries. Thanks guys for coming and chatting again with me for Star Trek, and join us next Saturday where we talk about Scorpion, which is a damn good episode.
Mm-hmm.
One that is worthy of a two-parter. And we will definitely be seeing you then, and I hope everyone has a good and safe weekend. Have an amazing night, guys, and don't forget to see us on Monday for the coffee stream. See you guys later.
Good night, everybody.
Night.